we have projects that are group based. You get to help others, and the benefit goes to you too, because I've seen people make lifelong friendships. I've seen people get married from meeting each other on volunteer projects. It's really powerful.
Welcome again back to AI for Impact. I am Eric Etka, and with me tonight I have Lou Reda from HandsOn Bay Area. And I've been blessed with meeting Lou as one of those people that we got on the phone and just hit it right off with the energy, the strength of his company and his organization. And Lou is the executive director, leading nonprofit that organizes corporate and community volunteer projects throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. And Rita has guided HOBA for over 2 decades, right?
That's
Shaping
right.
it into a hub of civic engagement, employee service programs, and leadership development among individuals and also corporate teams. When I met you, I was so overwhelmed by the pictures of your organizations. Like, the volunteers at your events were like nothing I'd seen yet. And we talked about that for a while. You have year-round volunteer events. You mobilize large volunteers and
Mhm.
you also train them. First of all, let's go back, because you have 2 degrees in physics and finance, right?
That's
You
right.
were
We
the
did some
Goldman Sachs
research.
finance person 2 decades ago. And you don't always find that. It's interesting. Like, what inspired you to dedicate your work to these causes? And it's not
Mhm.
just one. You're pretty broad.
Yeah. So, I have a lot of different interests, and that's kind of explains it all. I've always loved science. And so I thought there was a career in science for me. That's why I did the physics part of it. Really enjoyed it, but it was clear to me that I'm not going on in physics, that I needed to do other things that were more suited to me and my personality. Um, and that started a search, honestly. Service has actually always been part of my life. I've been doing volunteer work since I was a child and loved it always. And then, after I graduated college, I was working in investment banking for a while and was like, this doesn't really quite fit me. I don't know what would fit me. But at the same time, I was volunteering at a hospital in New York doing something called baby holding. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's where, infants born to mothers who are not able to take care of them because of drug addiction or other issues, abandon them in the hospitals, but babies need that care in order to
Right.
start developing correctly. So, what a great volunteer gig that was. You just go in the hospital and you hold babies, change diapers occasionally and stuff like that. But it was really, really cool.
Sure.
And then, I was like, well, I love service, so why not try to make this more part of my life?
I get that. And I've heard that, where people are like, I really want to give back. I love doing this thing. But Lou, you're being modest. Like, you have grown something that is very large. And like, you discussed with me your organizational agility, your people first philosophy, and the long-term dedication that you have to this. How has that changed, going from trying to figure out science, trying to not finance, but now you've created an enormous organization? And what are some of those challenges that you solved and grew and then built what you have now?
Yeah, so the finance background, business background came in super handy when I started this work because the great thing about nonprofits is that people lead from their heart, which is wonderful. And I get that too. I love that. But you got to have a little bit of practicality wrapped with that, because people don't know this often, but a nonprofit is a small business, right? And as a business, it's got to pay rent, got to pay salaries, and all those other things that are important. So, bringing a little bit of business acumen to it really is useful and helpful. And that's something I had a strength in from my background and was able to bring that to the organization, which is great because this is very funny when they said, "Hey, do you want to be executive director?" By the way, we're bankrupt. It was a great conversation. I was like, okay,
Sure, sign me
yeah,
up,
sign me
right?
up, right? Exactly. And so right away from day one, I was able to use that background, help us get it better on course to a more sustainable future, where we can continue doing this great mission that we have. And I adore our mission, but in a way that allows us to, do it not just now, but as we go forward in time.
Yeah, you do. You mentioned that, and I think that's one thing we definitely connected with on the phone. And with my background in chiropractic and then Amazon operations for 8 years, and reaching out to all these CEOs and executive directors to learn as quickly as possible. One thing I did notice is that the larger organizations with the well-run nonprofits were run very similarly to any kind of free enterprise
Hmm.
company, any large company, even how military runs and sports teams and things like that, where it is important and you do need to be able to pay yourself, pay them well and get the materials, get the
Hmm.
stuff. You get the swag for all your cool shirts that you get for all these things
Right.
and the venues and paying for those venues. And that is an important piece that I have heard from probably 65, 70% of the people I've spoken to. And it's a deciding factor between the really successful organizations and some people who are, I want to say, servicing an issue versus some people who are making a economical impact with, if they help people even today, like figure out some applications so they can get to college and then get graduated and then get a job. Like that
Hmm.
changes everything. That changes things. And you said our mission, and I think that you have a mission that's bigger than, because you said you're interested in a lot of things. And so your mission is broad, but covers a lot of things. So how do you stay focused with all of the moving parts that you have?
No, absolutely. Our mission that I mentioned is just really simple. It's people helping people. That is very broad, right? It could mean
Yeah,
so many different things. You're right on. But for us, the way we look at it is we believe strongly that people can solve the problems of our world. And it's just a matter of finding a way to inspire them to want to solve those problems, right? And so our focus is very much on the people, the volunteers who come through our door, and making sure that they are given a great experience that connects them to need in their community that we're often not aware of, right? Or don't think about deeply. But once you're connected to it, you realize that it's there and you want to make a difference. People find that spark in themselves through our work. And that's what we aim for. And that's how we keep our focus.
that's awesome. And I've heard something similar also, and I can tie it to, there's a lady out in Utah with 3 different food pantries, and she runs them completely different than many others that I've ever seen. But she also, you touched on something with your volunteers. You want them to have an incredible experience. So you're thinking that Amazon principle is called customer obsession. And
Mm.
so you're thinking, how can I make their experience amazing? And so, and by doing that, they're going to come back,
Mhm.
right?
Right,
They're gonna come back and help, and then they're gonna tell their friends, "You gotta come, this is gonna be
right,
fantastic." But
right.
so that's an important key distinction for you, is that you want the volunteers' experience to be totally awesome and
Mhm.
incredible, kinda like, like the Disney experience kinda thing where people leave Disney and that's all they talk about for the next 2 weeks.
Right,
Like,
right.
and to your benefit, if anybody goes on LinkedIn or the website, you will see dozens, 20, 30 different volunteers at these events. And that was eye opening to me. And I really wanted to know that. And as your business has grown, what have you changed in terms of efficiencies, departments, handoffs, that kind of stuff, so it does operate like a regular business?
Hmm. Yeah, and that's been quite a wonderful experience for us, honestly, going deeper into systems and technologies to make it easier for us to communicate with each other and organize and plan and pull together. in a great way that encourages and propels us forward. So, if you come to see our office, it looks like a mini Home Depot. We have all of the tools and supplies needed to run any of the kind of projects that we have. We rely on your former employer, Amazon, a lot for getting hygiene kit items and things like that that we need to get out to the community. Um, we utilize some great systems that we have knitted together to make us as efficient as possible. Um, and that's been really wonderful to see when it works. And, we've had a couple missteps. Of course, everyone has missteps with
Of
technology.
course.
Um, Now it's working quite well, and so that's exciting. And figuring out where we could take things further, or how we could take things further, you know, um, is always something that we're trying to do.
Absolutely. I think, well, I know that creating those efficiency allows you to have more time with the
Mhm.
humans also. Your fewer admin stuff, pushing papers, blah, blah, blah. The whole point is to be, like you said, with the people
Yep,
and
exactly.
help them out and get the mission to them. The you know, it's important where I know you probably have 100 stories of heartwarming stories, but off the top of your head or a recent one, what's one's particular story that when you have a tough day and you're like, I just like want to walk away from this, and you think you're like, hold on, and you replay that tape in your mind. What is that story?
Yeah, it often involves the people at our partners that we are helping through our volunteer power. When we can make a low income school look a little nicer, and then the children come in and experience it, that's what keeps me going often. A great example is we did a project at it was called Jane St. Jude's Home for Children, and these are children who are escaping abuse. um, and we it was a simple thing. We built them a playhouse, right? But the joy on their faces when they saw a
Like
playhouse
Kristen, right?
keeps me going for years. It kept me going for years, still keeping me going, just because they were so thrilled to have a little play structure that they could use. Anyway, that's
No, I get it, and that's exactly why I asked the question. And regardless of what the mission is, the stories we hear from the nonprofit leaders and everybody else is that like we're all stewards of goodwill. We want to expand our ability, strengthen our ability to be stewards of
hmm
goodwill.
hmm
And even on Tuesday night, speaking with another gentleman who actually helps retired vets get into, career changes and do all that stuff and get to that point. And he realized last year that he woke up on Thanksgiving Day of all days and he had this feeling in his heart. He was just like, I'm finally doing good work.
mm,
Like, oh my God, I am changing people's
right.
lives finally. And that was it. It's that thing of like, I don't want to just like have this mission. Like, if you get to the point where like we have an obligation now to make those like children happy, the screaming, the joy, all that fun stuff. And so that's where the organization and the efficiency becomes important. Um, I have another challenging question though. So, what's the most challenging personal sacrifice you've made for this cause?
Oh, wow. Personal sacrifice. Um, there's certainly lots of little things, but honestly, I feel like I've gotten so much from being part of it. It doesn't ever feel like a sacrifice to me. So I'm struggling a little bit to answer that question. It's like you
That's
get these
fair.
standard sacrifices. Like I could have definitely made a lot more money in investment banking, you know, for sure. There's no question about it. As a matter
Today
of
was rough
fact,
though.
I was making more money out of college in investment banking. It took me a couple of years to match even to that in this kind of role, but it didn't. It did not strike me as a sacrifice. at all. It struck me as just the right thing for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, one of the unique things that you had talked to me about was like how you gain and provide credibility and the rigor to your corporate partnerships. And the corporate partnerships are a big part of
Hmm.
the organization, right?
That's right.
And I think we need to touch on that a bit for other nonprofit organizations who are going to hear this and kind of trying to figure out how do we how do we do that?
There is, has been for years an enormous amount of energy in corporate America, where it comes from the employees who work there. With open hearts and eyes and everything, they want to work for companies that care about the communities where they live and work, right? And so that kind of push from inside corporations is exciting to us, and that's what we try to tap into, that desire to be with an organization that's trying to do good in the community. Obviously, corporate America comes with a lot of different baggage and stuff like that, and you have to make your choices and as you will as to what's a good relationship and what's not. But in general, that's harnessing that power is really exciting and can make a big difference in the world.
Have you found that working with other corporations or maybe gift matching companies also helps with, because I've heard some philosophy about a nonprofit organization can help the donors meet their own personal goals also. Volunteers, same thing.
Hmm.
And with, if I want to really help a organization and I want to donate to it and then I find out, oh, I have a gift matching company,
Hmm.
how have you approached that relationship in those situations?
It's interesting, many of our partners have these matching programs. And many, uh, all of them, honestly, struggle to get their employees to use that program, right? And to be
Yeah.
aware of that program and everything. So that's a key thing that we try to do is during the project say, hey, you work for this company, they have a matching program and you could, if, you don't even have to give your money, right? You could just say, I volunteered here into the system, and then it would automatically give dollars-for-doer money to that nonprofit. Still a struggle. It's, people are busy and, taking the time to log your hours in the portal is, takes time. And so we're trying to encourage them because that's like free money for that nonprofit, right? Because they're getting the
Yeah.
volunteers to do the work and
I wonder what the psychology is behind that. I mean, the sociology of the time it takes to do that stuff. I wonder if there's a psychology behind it where they're like, that the employee is like, oh gosh, they're gonna have my name, and they're gonna have to act
then,
extra money, it's gonna cost, and then it's on me. Like, I wonder maybe if that's in there. But for me, I was like, so cool. So if you're Amazon, you give you 500, they gotta give you 500. But um, no, I've definitely been looking into as I've learned more and more is to understand like how can I concentrate our efforts to give us, a bigger bang for your buck, I guess is really what I'm looking for is I want to put out this much energy and I want to see a return for our recovering addicts, for the
mhm,
houses, for the
mhm.
residents, for the beds, for all the things that we need to do also. Um, you said that where you work seems like a warehouse and there's
Yes.
just stuff everywhere. And who's in charge of organizing all that stuff?
Yeah, yeah, we have, I don't know if you'd like to see it, I could show you just right outside my window here.
Go for it.
All right, hold
Go
on.
for it.
I'll take you with me.
I'm gonna fly out to San Francisco eventually. I gotta see this place.
All right. So this is our tool warehouse down there.
Wow.
You get a
It
sense.
does look like a warehouse.
It
Man,
does, right?
look at all that stuff.
And we have a ton of stuff that goes it is constantly in motion, right? For all the different projects that we do. And there's painting projects, there's gardening projects, there's kit building projects, all kinds of different things that are happening. And we have a whole group of people, you could sort of see them in the distance there, who work on keeping this warehouse moving and efficient.
Yeah, and don't lose stuff. Keep it organized. It's supposed to be where it is, like
Yeah, because things are
virtual and
constantly,
physical match. Like
yeah.
the computer says it's here. Where is it? We definitely run into that before. The so like if as large as you are and you want to make a big impact, if you had unlimited resources, like what's the first problem you'd tackle like to zero?
Yeah.
I mean, gone. What would it be?
Okay, so we have a unique perspective. What I would, if I had unlimited resources, I would invest it in our youth volunteering program. These young folks are unbelievable how they want to change the world, and we want to make it easy for them to do it. That's what I would invest in.
That's a great answer. So then that would create an entire generation of folks who want to give back, who want to learn. But you also have job training programs, you
Mhm.
have volunteer training programs, right?
Yep.
So was that already at HOBA before you got there, or did you create that?
No, we created a lot of leadership programs, especially targeted at young people, because if you get a young person involved in service, they will keep doing it for the rest of their life. It's that makes that kind of impact. And that's what we wanted to do.
That's amazing. Yeah, just I think that your company has this what's the word? You've hit that tipping point with volunteers where you're like, I have plenty. Let's just, bring more and you do it more. And that way you can do more things, right?
Mhm.
And as you have those volunteers and what in terms of the programs you have for 2026, what does your capital campaign look like or your comprehensive campaigns look like? Just an idea.
Um, so the warehouse that I showed you, right, is a new thing for us. It's interesting. We actually purchased this building about a year ago in October of 2024. The reason we purchased it wasn't it wasn't our first thought to purchase a building. It was we lost our lease again, and in the time I've been with HandsOn Bay Area, we've moved 10 times, right? So
Wow.
that's an average
Okay.
of once every 2 years kind of thing. It wasn't quite that bad because there was a lot of moves at one point for various reasons. But anyway, we lost our lease again, and we started looking for another place to lease, and no one would lease to us because we're a nonprofit, right? And they often think that prices are going to go up when like the AI boom hits, and sure enough, the prices did go up when the AI boom hit. But we were able to find a bank that would give us a mortgage, and we got this space, and thank God for it because the prices are going up all around us here in San Francisco because of the AI boom. And that's what our capital campaign is focused on: is how do we continue to support our ability to stay in this building, because it was definitely a stretch goal to do it, but that's our capital campaign goal.
Is there any way for you guys to even to own it eventually, right? So you have that asset?
Yeah, yeah. At some point, we as long as we keep making our mortgage payment, it could all turn out fine.
Right, because then you'll have that asset and the collateral for it, and that'll be helpful. What's let's kind of like go back to what you talked about the organization and the efficiencies and the departments, and you are using software and some tools to
Mhm.
organize task management and stuff like that. Walk me through some of those things so that if others are kind of banging their head against a wall trying to figure that out, maybe we can give them an idea of what to do.
Absolutely. And this is especially important for anyone who is in a nonprofit or starting in a nonprofit or to hear there are programs that are really, really useful. One that comes to mind is Salesforce, which will give 10 free licenses to any nonprofit, and very worthwhile to take advantage of that because that is a really great efficiency platform for helping manage your internal operations, your donor
Agreed.
outreach, all of that stuff, right, is really
Yeah.
useful. So that Google is another one. Google has a grant program for nonprofits, allows you to use the Google tools. And also, you know how when you do searches online, ads come up? They have a program to allow nonprofits to tap into that system through a grant program that'll allow your message to get out a little further because of that.
We are definitely gonna get that information from you after that
Please.
because I
Yeah.
haven't 2 of those 2 out of 3, then no. I thought you were gonna come up with like, well, we have Slack and Asana or Monday.com, Microsoft Teams, and here's how we use it. There's so many team tools out there also. Have you used any of those?
Yeah. We love, again, like we have the whole Google suite. And so we use Google Meets and others like that. But we also use Zoom for our projects, because we do host virtual projects so that people can join in from wherever they are. And we use a platform like Zoom to do that.
That's cool because then you can also have the AI tools that go with Zoom and
Mhm.
everything else, you can live stream it, right?
Yep.
We could probably live stream these things too. It'd be awesome. So where do you see hands-on Bay Area in 5 years?
That's a great question. You know, we are at this state in the world that there's a lot of change, a lot of things happening that is really shaking up the world. You know, AI just being one of them, right? And all of us are trying to figure out how do we coexist with AI in a positive way. I do think I would love to see us working against the isolation problem that is becoming prevalent in our society because of various reasons, people are getting lonelier and lonelier, right? And so, if I could hope for one thing, it's that we find a way to effectively use volunteerism as an antidote to that isolation, to that loneliness.
Oh, okay. That's a cool way to do it,
Yeah.
yes.
It makes
It
sense, right? We have
it
projects
does
that are
make
group
sense.
based. You get to help others, and the
Yeah,
benefit goes to you too, because I've seen people make lifelong friendships. I've seen people get married
yeah.
from meeting each other on volunteer projects. It's really powerful.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah, it's, definitely a way to, get people off the screens and talking to the humans. I had a conversation with a lady who, helps a lot of refugees, and she has an enormous volunteer program with that too, and she tells me the same thing where they being online and social media is so polarizing nowadays
Mhm.
that some people think are like, oh, like let's say a different ethnicity or something like, oh, they're like this. And then but when they go volunteer and they go help these people, they're like she says to me, she has heard people say, oh, and like, wow, they're human too. They're like,
Right.
they're also human like I am. I'm
Right.
like, oh, and like it's volunteering is gets you out of there to look at the real world, physical world, say, "Oh my gosh, it's not like I'm being told everywhere, bad
Right.
things, and this is terrible, and everybody hates each other, blah blah blah," or the opposite. Whatever the algorithm's telling me that day. Like, go walk outside, talk to your neighbors, go volunteer, shake hands. You went and held baby holding babies,
do
go
that.
walk some dogs,
It's wonderful.
right? Dude, yeah. I mean, who doesn't love to hold at least a sleeping baby
Yeah.
or like a cute little baby? And yeah, there's so many research studies with that too. I remember that when you were talking about that, that there was a research study about, I guess, there are rabbits in a laboratory, all these cages and stuff like that, and some of them were thriving and doing really well, and some weren't. And they began to watch the cameras, and certain nurses would pick up and hold and pet and hold and pet, and then put the other ones back in, and then they only had so much time, and then they would leave the room. And the ones that were thriving, the mammals, right? The
Mhm.
rabbits, nervous system, mammals, were just the ones that were being pet and
Yeah.
touched and had that energy of some another living thing with it, I guess, so to speak, kind of like James Redfield's book, The Celestine Prophecy. If you've ever read it, definitely. If you haven't, go for it. It makes a lot of sense, and it just talks about where even plants and people and we share that, that bond and that energy and things like that for living things. But I digress. The important part of where I think with the volunteer training and looking forward to the future of knowing that, even in 5 years that you're gonna be building a larger base of volunteerism and those folks as well. The um how do you with the corporations, we can go back to that. How are you building those partnerships with the corporations? Do you, go out the front door and you go meet them for lunch? Or you just emailing them, you're calling them? There's lots of different ways nowadays to do this, but how do you go about doing that?
Um, you know, a lot of partners I've worked with for years and have certainly enjoyed just building a relationship with them. We try to do in person wherever possible. And it's wonderful to me that most of the people I meet are referred to me by people I already know. And so that's a big way of my building partnerships is by that kind of connection. And that it's invaluable, right? Because that whole network effect you know, um, of someone coming to you through a referral from someone else is very powerful. They know
Oh
plus
yeah.
their
Right.
friends and etc.
Right. So, I mean, even when I was a chiropractor and, referrals were just the they know about you.
Hmm.
You've already been sold to them and they come in and they're very much more open to anything, any of your suggestions. So if you have a corporate partnership, you really well with this person, he talks to his friend and that corporation comes over here. They're already ready to discuss stuff, right?
Hmm.
And so, but that doesn't happen right away. You've been doing this for 20 years
Right.
or more. And so that credibility and longevity uh, and trust that you've built with your community pays huge dividends for you,
Absolutely.
right? The We discussed a whole lot of stuff tonight. So one last question: the if you could go back to the start of this, knowing what you know now, and what would you tell your younger self about that choice? Like,
What would I tell my younger self? I would say it's definitely not going to be as easy as you think it is, but it is totally worthwhile, no matter what.
yeah, right. I think it's like 90% of the same answers I'm getting, and one person was joking. She was like, "Don't do it." It was
Right.
it
There's a
was
part of me
when
that said, "Oh my God, maybe don't."
oh,
But
stay in finance, right? But
yeah, it's totally worth it.
there there's something about the ripple effect that, especially what you're doing, because you're not only affecting the community of people who need more help than some others, you're also training a group of the next generation of nonprofit leaders. And so, you know, even when it's said and done and you move on to retire and there's another ED or CEO, your impact over the last 20 years, it has already created ripples all the way down to, right,
Hmm.
to other kids, to generations
Yeah.
of people. Do you realize that, right?
No, I do, just in terms of just
Exponentially.
just looking at the staff who've gone through our doors and how they've created this really strong community of connection with each other, and they're still in touch. People who I met at the very beginning are still talking and friends with each other. So just in terms of that alone, you can see it.
That's amazing because that's changing entire social system and helping them to help others, I
Hmm.
guess, is really what I want to say. And that's fantastic. You can't ask for much more. You're doing well. You've got a new place and the warehouse looks good.
Thank
The
you.
future's bright for you. You got plenty of things on the horizon, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stop this here.
Okay.